All right, welcome everyone in our audience to the City of Cottonwood Heights. This is our business meeting, Tuesday, September 3rd. It's right on time at 7 p.m. We'd like to begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to kind of do something a little different. I'm going to ask Chief Watson if he would lead us in that pledge, please. Thank you, Chief. Looking at the agenda, we have a recognition we'd like to do right now. We'd like to invite up Tatum and Gabe Jackson. And if Mom, you want to join them, if you can limp on up. Oh, and Tyler, you can join as well. Yeah, come on up. Yeah. All right. Come on up. And Rob, I want you to come up too. Jamie, do you want to introduce and give a little bit of background and let Tatum and Gabe lead out? But yeah.
So Tatum and Gabe go to Butler Elementary, and last year they entered the Reflections Contest, and the title for the contest was Heroes Around Us, and so they both, without hesitation, chose to honor the UFA and the Cottonwood Heights Police Department with their entries. So that's kind of how we are. They won, sorry, at a school level, and then they got honorable mention at district level. So.
Wonderful. Tatum, why don't we let you do your presentation, Chief Watson, first? And we'd like Chief Watson to take a couple moments and give a little bit of background about Matthew Burchett, and then we'll let Gabe present to Chief Russo.
Well, thank you, Mayor. We'll let Tatum start with her project. I will tell you that at Butlerville Days, at our medical trailer, Tatum and her mom approached me, and she gave me the plaque there. And as we discussed, we thought it would be really special to do this in council meeting. And I also wanted to let you know that I've spoken with Maddie's brother, Dominic, who is a division chief for us and works over Wildland. And he will be the one who receives this for his family. And his widow, Heather, knows about it as well, and she'll get to see it because they're neighbors.
So Tatum, you want to say something?
I thought it would be fun to make one for Matthew Richette because I didn't really have any. I didn't know what to do, and then I remembered that he passed away, so I thought I could make one because he was a hero, and I just thought it would be fun.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. You know, I really appreciate Heroes Around Us, because when someone like this individual who literally gave his life literally for the safety of many, we appreciate you giving that recognition. So you want to hand that over to Chief Watson? And Chief, you want to just give us a little bit of more history about Matthew Burchett?
Yeah, of course. So let me also show you the audience as well, the back side of the plaque. And this is a pretty wonderful piece. It says Tatum Jackson, 4th grade, Butler Elementary, Reflections entry, wood burning, Heroes Around Me. Title is A Fallen Hero. I chose a firefighter named Matthew Burchett. He died in the line of duty. He was fighting forest fires in California. I wanted to honor this local hero. So this is pretty special. You know, when I was in 4th grade, the things I was thinking about was riding my bike and trying to hit a baseball, right? So I could make it to first base. So for someone like Tatum to do this is just very significant and special. Maddie was a dear friend. That's him on the right. We worked directly together for 4 years in the Wildland Bureau from 2000 to 2003, and we became very close friends. It was really fun to track his career and see all the things that he did. As you know, at the time of the accident, he had been a battalion chief for Draper Fire for about 4 months. And it was just really special to see him learn and grow, and more importantly, how many people he taught to learn and grow in the profession. He was a true, at the top of his craft, he was a true craftsman. And he was just a fun person to be around. That was Matty right there. That really captures him. But Tatum and I had a conversation about how incredible this design really is if you look at the bottom of the plaque, because this Saturday, his brother and I and some other people on the fire department and some other friends will be riding Logan to Jackson. Matty and his brother and his widow Heather wrote it several years ago, and it's one of my passions, but this is the jersey we'll be wearing this year. We'll be riding in Matt's honor, and I blew this up a little bit for you to show you how close the artwork is. This was done by a professional artist. It's called The Mountain, and it is the artist rendering of where Matty was when tragedy struck. So I think it's pretty amazing when you compare those two pieces to see how similar they are. And it also makes it even that more special to us. So thank you very much.
Tatum, thank you again very much on behalf of the City of Cottonwood Heights and the United Fire Authority for your sensitivity and recognition of Matt and for his service. All right, thank you. All right, Gabe, I know when you watched your sister do that reflection project, you wanted to do your own. So what did you do? You want to tell us? Can you do it?
So I heard it was Heroes Around Us, and so Tatum got the fire, and I couldn't find any hero that I know about but the police department.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There it is. Okay, the chief of police is right next to you,
Yes,
so you
I
can hand it to him.
understand. No, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stand right here with me. We're detaining you. I understand he also wants to be a police officer, and this is what he made for us.
Yeah, the picture right in front of us,
The
yeah.
badges are sealed, and I want you to notice the detail he put into it, because the mountain emblem is identical to the one we wear on our badge, and he also went so far as to put "Solve the Problem," which is the motto of the police department that's on the back of the cars. And that took a great deal of time and effort and the consideration. And I will tell you that the Burchett family was very close to Chief Watson. It was a personal friend. And for them to choose Maddie to do the dedication to was just very inspiring and touching. And I've known this family a long time, as have you, Mayor. They exemplify what makes Cottonwood Heights special, and what makes this city so great, because every one of them are just like this. I'm grateful to you. I think you'll make a great police officer in 10 years when you contest. I will be nothing but a fond memory, but in the meantime, we've gotten you a hat to get you started. Okay?
Thank you.
You are welcome.
All right.
Thank you. And I have one for your sister, too.
All right.
They want a picture. You have to
Yep.
here.
Coming up there with the mic, yeah.
And they want one with Mike Watson, too, I'm sure. Can you come up? All right. Thank you both.
Gabe, Tatum, thank you. Jamie, Tyler, thank you. I think we had Grandma and Grandpa here too. Good to see them. And Jacksons live in District 3. That's all right. So I know. All right. Thank you. Those are wonderful tributes to both of our public safety departments. We now have citizen comments, and I think I have 2 speaker cards, or 3 actually. So if you're here for public comment on proposed outdoor lighting, that's second. So if that's the case and I call your name, you can just hold off for a moment. So first, Tim Howback, written comments also, but come on up.
Plug in here. Do we need to click something? Check 1, 2.
There you go.
Oh, that's you. Oh, yeah, it took it was delayed before. Is it? That's okay. We're just looking at big green bars, so that's all right. Oh, okay. So as always, I try to do the survey and send it out to approximately 3,800 of our residents that I have emails for. This time we got, this is live right now, so we have 53 respondents, which is a 27% increase over last time, because we had 40 last time, so that was pretty nice. This time I actually added a comment box, so people could freeform in comments. I made multiple comments. I know you guys are going to love to read all these comments, so I made copies for all the city councilmen and the
Great.
mayor.
I'll read them.
Yeah. So the votes for this week are as follows. I'll try to put this down right. They're all approved. Some of them were, this one was, if you're looking at percentage-wise, about 90%, 10% for the
Arts Council.
approving Laura Garcia. One of the comments on there was, 2 of the comments on here were, not enough information. Who is this person? Does this cost the city money? If there's any money involved, is it being transferred from one to the other? You know, how many people are on the there was all kinds of like details that people wanted to know, besides just yes or no question. Here's the other one for the East Jordan Trail. Again, overwhelming support for that thing. And the last one was the Lexi Lane one. This one was more of a, why are we doing this? What's the background information? I didn't know where to look for that on the site, so I couldn't direct people from that one. And then there were all the freeform comments, and I will just highlight those. We've got about a minute, so we'll do this. For the chief, Highland is a racetrack, and so is Hollow Mill Drive. So any work we can do there would be great. Let's see. What was the other one? Oh, there was a very interesting one. The police chief's position should be an elected position. The police department should be an independent department, not beholden to the city council. But where the budget for them would come from, that didn't get covered by this person making the comments. But I thought that was very interesting. And another person said term limits. So the police chief can only serve 2 4-year terms. The city council and the mayor should only be serving 2 4-year terms, that kind of thing. Let's see. Bunch of feedback on the roundabout. I was very happy. People liked my opinion on it. Build the bridges or the tunnels first, see how that works, and then build the roundabout. That was it. And then there's quite a few more things about the streets around Canyons Elementary and some of the other schools. The pedestrian crossings needed to be revamped or repainted, that kind of thing. So that's it. There you go.
Right, and you'll give us those written comments too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will hand them. There are 4 copies here, or 5 copies here, so I can hand.
As long as we got one that for the record, yeah.
Okay.
Give it to Paula.
And that's it. Cool.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that feedback. Ken Garner? Okay, thank you. We'll hold off for a minute then. Eric, you want to come up?
Hello, Mayor, Council, staff. I've sat in this office and been actually called out saying, with the specific words by our former mayor actually, traffic is traffic. I want to talk about conventional safety versus systematic safety. Conventional safety looks at historical incidents before justifying taking measures, while systematic safety understands that certain elements create unsafe conditions and seeks to prevent injuries before they happen. Systematic safety is basically the core principles of Vision Zero, is what the Dutch system has been implemented since the 70s. That's why they have a great trail system or bicycle system, pedestrian safety, et cetera, and they have a much lower death rate on the roads per capita than anywhere in the US. The first principle of systematic safety is speed control and separation. For every type of speed and average daily trips on a particular road, there's an element of risk and of the type of injury that will happen. And that's a known fact. That's a scientific. If a car is going higher speed limits than 20 miles an hour, then somebody that's not protected by a 5,000-pound car is more likely to die by every mile exponentially. At this point, the Federal Highway Administration has actually updated their preferred bikeway type for urban core, which basically mimics what the Salt Lake County best practices guideline has for the same instrument. It shows, for example, Bengal Boulevard, which a kid just got hit by a car just a few days ago. Anything that's over 35 miles an hour and has more daily traffic than 7,000 cars requires, or the best safe practice is a separated bike lane or a shared use path. That's not a bike lane. That's something that actually has a barrier between cars and the bikes. The Federal Highway Administration actually gives you some leeway for, hey, I'm gonna take some, considerations because not everything is possible. But one of the things that it speaks very clearly about is the type of user that is likely to be on those roads. Bengal Boulevard, 2700 East, Fort Union Boulevard, they all, they're right next to elementary schools, high schools, middle schools, a rec center, and City Hall. And the type of user is going to be the type of people that actually need that type of protection. So spending money on many other things and projects that we're having here, and people actually looking for the sources of money for many other projects. I haven't seen a Safe Routes for School project since 2011 being sought out for funding within the city of Cottonwood Heights. That was for Ridgecrest Elementary School, I believe. It was approved or finalized according to UDOT in 2013. We're getting pickleball courts. We're actually going to go and put a trail on the East Canal, Jordan Trail, which does take some kids to the park. It's going to cost money. It's going to be something that's going to come to, from other sources, but we're going to maintain it. I think that we need to prioritize the safety, especially in connecting our bike routes to the schools and to places where kids are going to go. Everybody has the capacity of being the hero, and you just honored some fallen heroes. But everybody in this room has a capacity to being the hero for a kid going to school, walking or biking, and cleaning the air and providing a better, safer environment for all of us. There's guidelines. There's very hard ones. I've been asking for a long time about adopting Vision Zero and working to actually implement, to the letter of the word almost, NACTO guidelines. And I haven't seen much of a response on those requests. And I think that that's a disservice to the safety of the people, and for every little kid or person that's going to be coming to our schools and gets injured, That's not enough. We need to do better on that area. I also want to say real quickly, I know that there's no routes on the canal trail, but there's going to be maintenance, and I think that we need to actually assess. I am a big supporter of tactical urbanism. I would love to see that trail first be implemented via some crush rock, granite or something, and then get the neighbors that are going to be using it to actually get together, become a group, help maintain it, do the work of actually weeding it out, participating in that, and seeing what kind of use this trail is going to get. And then we can decide it's really, really important to actually pave it. Then we can actually go and move on and spend more money that way. Anyway, that's my words. Please don't take safety lightly. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. All right, that's the only 2 comment cards I have for our citizen comment period. Is there someone in the audience that wants to speak during citizen comments that I didn't get? Hearing none, we'd like to move on to the agenda to a public comment period and open up public comment regarding our proposed outdoor lighting ordinance that's being proposed. And so then, Ken, you want to come up now? Sure. Yes, I'm sorry, you're right. That's what we are going to do first, yeah. Where's Matt? Yeah, I'm sorry, Ken. Yeah, they would have corrected me in a minute. Yeah. No, that's just me hurrying up to it. Come on up, Matt. He's going to introduce the subject, yeah, which is the plan, and he's ready. I'm just ahead of myself.
Thank you all. Council asked our planning staff to prepare an outdoor lighting ordinance. We have prepared that ordinance. We've gone to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission has put forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to adopt the proposal that's before you. I'll explain a little bit of the background for the public behind the ordinance and what it's meant to achieve. So light pollution is simply defined as light where it's not wanted. Light is, of course, essential to our daily life and living and existence, but too much light in the wrong, or too little light in the wrong place is detrimental to health, safety, welfare of people and the public. They can affect our eyes, whether we're in our homes, driving, relaxing, keep us from seeing what we want to see. Having expended light in a way that's inappropriate also results in wasted energy, and so that's another outcome from not appropriately managing light. In the preparation of this ordinance, we identified the outcomes that we hope to produce. Those outcomes, number one, was to consolidate our existing ordinances into a comprehensive standard. We do have existing standards for commercial zones, and some of the neighborhood commercial residential office zones. Those zones all have slightly different standards. Some are very similar. There's just little nuances that make them different per zone. So combining those into this ordinance generates a single comprehensive approach to regulating lighting. Other outcomes, we surveyed many municipalities, model ordinances, research on the issues of lighting, and other jurisdictions and communities have narrowed in on the principles of trying to conserve energy and natural resources, improve the enjoyment of private property from light trespass and other nuisance violations, increase health and safety through reduction of glare, improvement of nighttime driving conditions, improving sleep conditions. Also, lighting can affect crime and safety through reduction of dark spots and hot spots in your lighting environment. Of course, it can also improve the aesthetics, the ability to view the nighttime sky. That's something important to this area next to the canyons, and a major, as these are major regional and international destinations for people to enjoy the aesthetics of the natural world, and also the impacts on the wildlife and natural environment. So those are some of the things we looked at developing the standards of, okay, will these standards help? What will they do, and how will they help achieve these goals? In this matrix, we look at those different issues of trespass, glare, health and safety, energy consumption, and sky glow. Sky glow is, again, that issue of not being able to see the stars at night. The red X's are some standards that we had in place, at least in part, in our current commercial zones. The X standards are new standards, but they do help address multiple issues and hopefully deliver better outcomes in these areas. Those different tools or tactics would be to employ full cutoff fixtures, light fixtures, and employ height limitations on fixtures, illumination caps, regulating the total amount of light generated on a per acre net parcel or net acre per parcel basis, controlling the color or the spectrum of the light involved, utilization of timers and curfews to help minimize light expenditure when it's not needed as much, and photometric plans by developers at a certain threshold to ensure that compliance will be gained, that what will be installed will be in line with our standards. When we began this revision to our code, we went forward with a commercial only aspect that would apply to land uses. Well, say commercial only is incorrect. A land use approach would affect all land uses except for single family residential zones. The standards would get triggered with new construction. Any additions increasing the building or land use by 25% or more, or any interior remodels of 50% or more of the structure. The Planning Commission initially asked us to prepare standards for residential single-family zones, which we have done. We feel very good about the standards and being designed in a way that are understandable, implementable from a layman's perspective, so that anybody can do this. It should not be a burden in these situations where the standards would apply. Ultimately, the Planning Commission appreciated that work, but then made a recommendation that the single-family residential standards are optional. So that's something the council need to consider. I'll skip over this section. For the public's sake, there are a lot of resources out there on outdoor lighting. We've compiled a summary of some very good resources if you'd like to get more educated on the issue. You can visit Cottonwood Heights website and navigate to the community development page, and there'll be a resource for outdoor lighting. Any questions before I turn the time back to you?
No, the council's been briefed a couple times, so appreciate your patience, and let's, if there's no other questions from the council, we'll invite Ken, come on up now, and you can make your comment. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mayor and City Council and City Manager. I appreciate what you guys do. You guys field all the complaints from the whole city, and lighting's one of those complaints. So I'm a professional engineer, electrical engineer by trade. I've actually been designing commercial properties for 28 years, and 26 of those years I've been a lighting designer. In fact, I'm an award-winning lighting designer. Actually, one of the Market Street and Oyster Bar here was one of my projects a number of years ago. But lighting, you have to balance all of the things that he just mentioned. If you're going to field complaints, the ordinance has to be reasonable. And you know what, security and safety to some, I mean, the police chief over here is going to tell you that security is, you put nighttime lighting in, crime goes down. But also it may mean sleepless nights for others. And our street lights are an example of that were put in about 7-8 years ago in a lot of parts of the city. They are those big glare bombs that go up into the night sky, and they look nice during the daytime, but they were also put in very haphazardly, usually by where the power was. And so, like in my front yard, I've got one right in the center of my property, because that's where the power was, where they would have put it over on the pedestrian path, it would have been much better. So there's bad ordinances that have been done in the past by cities, and I'll mention a few of them. Limit of fixture choice. When you say full cutoff light fixture, that is something that is debatable. For example, the fixtures out here in the parking lot have these little spider things that hold up the light fixture. The fixture itself is all down, but there's light that bounces off of those arms that goes back up into the sky. So part of an ordinance is defining exactly what that means in terms of full cutoff. Also, when you choose full cutoff, it may actually impact things like historical light fixtures, and it limits choice. And I see that maybe residential isn't part of it, but I'll tell you, many residences like to go down to Home Depot and buy the thing that looks really good. And so part of a light trespass is how glary is it at the property line. And another bad ordinance is when you end up with a restriction that's almost impossible to meet. The U.S. Green Building Council has a 0.01 foot candle level at the property line, which is less than moonlight. And so it's a little bit ridiculous and very, very difficult to calculate, and it really doesn't mean a lot. Height restrictions can also have unintended consequences. So lighting designers may actually put a lot more light and a lot more sources when the height restriction, Park City and Summit County had like a 14-foot height restriction, and you had more sources that bounce light up into the sky. I've got several other comments. I'd like to maybe just do them online. I'll just email all you guys.
Oh, absolutely. And Matt, actually, if you can touch base with Matt in the back and maybe communicate with him directly as well as the council, but we'd really like your feedback as a professional. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was just say, if you would
Yeah.
take some time to either detail those or even meet with Matt to go over, because that ambiguity sometime is subject to debate is where ordinances can get in trouble.
Yeah.
So if you've got that experience, I think it would be worth the discussion.
Appreciate that, Ken, very much. Yeah. All right. Any other comments regarding the proposed lighting ordinance? Come on up, Eric.
I'm the husband of a wife that absolutely hates the street light that is by our house and spends unheard of amounts of money to try to black out every window of the house to combat this issue. So I don't see much regarding the public lights on the public right-of-way, and what is the city going to do about upgrading and creating full cutoff lights. I'm not totally familiar with all this terminology. Also pedestrian safety because of the glare that some of these lights are, on the streets. I experience that very often when I'm driving or when I'm walking, and I don't get seen, or it's hard for me even to see the cars sometimes. And I was also going to suggest if the city is interested in actually helping residential, single-family homes, existing residentials, upgrade their lighting fixtures, maybe use or accommodate or appropriate some of the money that the city receives regarding the energy tax that you collect, and try to put a program to try to help households that are in need for meeting those requirements, and if they can show some kind of stress or hardship, then the city can actually assist them in trying to fix in that situation, because it's a nuisance, and I think that is the city's role to actually help solve those issues between neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else like to provide public comment on the proposed outdoor lighting ordinance? Again, we'll, I'm sure, make further adjustments, and it'll come back to the city council, and Ken will be in touch with you as a professional. Thank you. All right, hearing there's no additional public comment, we'll close the public comment period and move to the action portion of our agenda. The first item, and Tim's already introduced all these for us. Thank you, Tim. First item is consideration of Resolution 2019-49, which is the approval of an appointment by the city manager of Laura Garcia to the Arts Council. Tim, you want to make comment on that, please?
I do, thank you. I've had a chance to meet with Laura on 2 separate occasions, and just for the public's understanding, this is for a volunteer position, a resident in our community to serve on the Arts Council. There's no fiscal element tied to it. It's a volunteer position. Laura is someone that has a really great background for this council. In fact, she served on the Midvale Arts Council at one time and has had experience. You don't often see that direct experience from someone that's volunteering. She did that as well as assisted with the Midvale pageant as the director. And she has a background in the arts, a degree in fine arts, and she's very willing to serve and wants to be engaged. And I'm recommending that you approve this resolution because I think she'll be a great addition to the Arts Council.
All right, thank you, Tim. And before I vote, I failed to excuse 2 members of our city council tonight. Councilmember Shelton is out of town on traveling, and also Councilmember Michael is also out of town traveling. So we'll excuse both of them. Any further discussion on this proposed resolution? Hearing none, I'd call for a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 2019-49.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bracken. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken.
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. All right, the next item is approving an interlocal agreement with Salt Lake City for the East Jordan Canal Trail. Tim, you want to just briefly talk about this item with respect to the agreement with Salt Lake City Public Utilities?
Yes, this is an item that we discussed with the City Council in a work session a few months ago. We received funding from a grant to facilitate this East Jordan Canal Trail opportunity that we have. We feel like it's an important connection, at least in that part of our community related to trails. It's about a 1,300 feet trail that we're looking at. What this agreement puts in place is that we are not the owner of the property, Salt Lake City is. This agreement they would allow us to utilize this for a trail. And so that's what the agreement is in place for, and we're recommending approval of this, keeping in mind that if this is approved tonight, there's still some significant processes. One, engaging the residents along the trail, also design elements, hiring a contractor and consultant to work with us on that to make that happen. So we're recommending approval of this agreement. It's an important first step to make this happen.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate you again mentioning that we'll be engaging the community near this trail for their participation and involvement as well. Any further questions or comments regarding this proposed resolution?
I'd move that we approve Resolution 2019-50.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bracken. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Bruce. Any further question? And then I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bruce?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, the last item of business is authorizing and directing the inspection and reporting on the condition of Lexi Lane in Cottonwood Heights as it's proposed by the residents there, that it be a road that would be taken over by the city. But before we do that, before we even consider it, we will propose a study, and this gives that authorization. It does not approve acceptance, but it just improves authorization. So I'll turn a moment over to Mike to update us on this issue before we vote.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll be brief. We talked about this at the work session last week. We have an ordinance in our city code that allows residents to petition to dedicate privately owned streets to be accepted by the city and become a public street, subject to city maintenance, snow removal, et cetera. The process is laid out very clearly in our ordinance. We are at the green step in this process here. So like you said, the resolution tonight gives direction to the petitioner to prepare an inspection report using their own engineer, guided by the city engineer. That will then come back to the city council within 45 days. That details any deficiencies in the road that would be required to meet city road standards. And very quickly, Lexi Lane is at about 1400 East along Creek Road. It's a 6-lot private subdivision that was approved back in 2014, and the homeowners have come forward with a petition for this dedication.
When you say deficiencies, that could be road base, asphalt,
Yeah, that could be
compaction, lack of sidewalks, storm drain,
so
anything along those lines.
any city street has minimum standards that need to be met, inspections that need to be completed, and certain things like core samples being tested and given to the city. On a private street, we don't necessarily have documentation of that. So we'll look at anything from the road densities to the width of the asphalt to the curbs and gutters and sidewalks, storm drain.
Okay, thank you. Again, this is just one piece of information, and the city council may use other information as well that it deems appropriate to make the evaluation once we have that report.
I think it's important to acknowledge that the petitioners will be paying the cost of the study.
Good point. Yeah. All right.
And they would also be responsible for bringing it up to conformance before it would be likely accepted.
Again, that'll all come back to city council for the complete discussion. All right. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'd call for a motion on item 2019-51.
I move that we approve resolution 2019-51.
Been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bracken. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken.
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, the last item is the consent calendar, which is the meeting minutes for July 16th, 2019. Motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilmember Bruce and seconded by Councilmember Bracken. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, they're approved. Now I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.